Courage, vision, resilience. It's more than just a journey. It's a universe of endless possibility, where a single idea can change a man's life, creating new worlds from the ground up. I am Ricky. I'm your guide through the epic stories of Web3 pioneers. Join me and enjoy the podcast. The Tales of Web3.
Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Tales of Web3, Season 2, Episode 8. Today we have a real Chad joining us, the co-founder of CEO of Omni Network, Austin King. How are you, my friend?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Ricky. Yeah, looking forward to this.
Always love to have someone from the Omni team to join. You guys are just complete different species in the entire space. But I guess the first question is, so I did my homework. I know you are a serial entrepreneur. You have a startup even before Omni, right? Mm-hmm. Which is also in DeFi and payment. It's really interesting. Please tell us a little bit more about how did you become an entrepreneur many years ago? What is the mindset? What is the decision process goes? Right? Because I feel like that story is really interesting to dive deep.
Yeah, I could give you like a really polished version of this story right now and tell you like, oh, there was a process and all this stuff, but it was chaotic. It was really chaotic. So I've always been interested in building companies. I mean, like even in high school, I remember my first like real business was I would go to old people's homes who didn't know how to use the internet and like sell their shit on eBay for them, and then just like take a spread between. Cool. So I was like some dumb little high schooler, just like, all right, like, so I've always been interested in it, specifically in the technology side. After that business in high school, I was like, everyone was making apps at the time. So I was like, I need to make an app. That's how people build companies these days. So I had made like a few grand from that like eBay arbitrage business. And I was like, I'm going to make an app. And I hired some contractor to build the app for me. I'm like a junior in high school or something. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I paid this contractor to build the app. And he just like got to a point where he was like, well, I need more money. I was like, you said you could do it for like $3,000. He was like, it was bigger than expected. And I just had no more money. So I couldn't, I never got the app built because I just couldn't pay him more. So I've always been interested in building companies. When I got to college, I studied computer science, and it was always like pretty clear to me, like I'm going to start a company after school. It wasn't clear to me what it was going to be. But yeah, I don't know. I've just always been super interested in it. I can't really explain why, but it's always kind of been there.
That's nice. What do you think is your superpower as an entrepreneur? Because all of you guys have at least one, right? Something that you're really extremely good at. Tell me more about your superpower.
What I think I'm really good at is, so I studied computer science and I did a lot of engineering at my first company. And I spent a lot of time like in the research space in crypto. I think my sweet spot is sitting in between, really it's like product, like sitting in between the technology of how the space is evolving and then identifying go-to-market strategies on top of that and kind of like tying together the growth function of the business with the like engineering organization. That's where I have the most fun. And that's what I think I'm best at. I don't know if I would say that's like a superpower or something I've always had because I need to like build up my engineering background in order to do that. But that is kind of what I find I'm like most useful on the Omni team today. Just kind of like existing in the research domain of like the frontier of where crypto is going, and then thinking about how that affects our product development roadmap and thinking about go-to-market strategies downstream of that on the growth side.
That's really cool. I've seen a lot of like the new product features at Omni, and I remember Chase recorded a video about like the chain abstraction, the interoperable like stuff, which is
he's good with videos. Yeah, that's his superpower. Yeah.
This is nice. This is nice. What do you think is the hardest thing for you guys right now at Omni, trying to grow to the next stage? Is it go to market? Is it adoption? Or is it product? Or
Most difficult thing for like growing Omni right now? It's a good question. There's like a number of things that are being pushed on in parallel. Probably the biggest constraint that we have right now on growth. Um, Re Something I spend a lot of time thinking about is just I see the opportunity for this space to be way more practical and pragmatic and accessible to like everyday users. And I think that's going to happen in 2025. All the technology, there's no like ZK innovation that needs to happen for this to be like usable, like for crypto as a
I
technology
agree.
class
I
to
agree.
be
I agree.
usable. And so probably the biggest constraint right now is just like uh, speed of building out the like product to a scale where it actually like really dramatically expands the accessible user base in crypto. I think that's going to be the story of 2025. I think we're going to combine all these things like smart contract wallets with account abstraction with intents, and it's not going to look anything like our phantom MetaMask world today where we're like moving gas around chains and stuff. I think that's really going to be like the main thing that changes in 2025. And so really like our team's pretty laser focused on just like building that future. And that's probably the main like constraint at this time.
Got it. You need to be prepared, right? Like you need to get everything ready for the user, for the trend, for the
Yeah, I
network.
think we just have to abstract it away from them, do all the complex stuff for them. We're just at a crazy stage of development where like users are so in the weeds. It's like they have to think about like whether it's AWS or like Google Cloud running the
Yes.
websites behind the scenes. They have to like have Google Cloud credits themselves and AWS credits, and
Which is
it's just yeah, agreed. Yeah,
okay. This is really interesting. Your touch base, and also like this is really like this is something that's been on my mind. I'm really curious, right? Let's dive a little bit deep in the chain abstraction side. So as a user, right, chain abstraction is great, right? Because right now I have fund on Arbitrum. I can use it directly on Base or engage with DeFi protocols, staking, like swap, perpetual. But like what is your experience working with the chains, right? Because I'm always curious. For example, if you're a chain, especially you are a chain with a bigger liquidity, your users are already there, right? Why they want chain abstraction so that other smaller scale volume chains can, I wouldn't say steal, right? But like, you know what I mean? Like it's like their barriers are gone, right? So if I'm a big chain, I will probably naturally or genetically, I want to oppose to this. Right? So as someone who's been building in from the frontier, I wanted to like really ask your experience because right, you guys have been working with Arbitrum Base, all these big chains. What is your attitude, right? And also just dive a little bit deep on what I just shared, right? The mindset.
yeah,
Really curious
yeah,
about that.
yeah. No, it's a really interesting question, but the crazy enough thing is that fortunately, everybody sees chain abstraction in their favor. So like weirdly enough, like you kind of went over the case of these like newer rollups that have less of an existing ecosystem. So there's obvious reasons as to like why they like chain abstraction. Just makes it easier to pull liquidity and users into their platform
100%.
because they're like bootstrapping new one. But so let's flip it. Let's think about like the incentives of Arbitrum. Arbitrum, like I chat with people on that team a decent amount. They're honestly kind of like positioning themselves very well for a future of chain abstraction. And the reason that they're down for this is because they believe that the incentives will play out in their favor with this. So as things get abstracted, co-locating a bunch of these DeFi protocols in one virtual machine, they believe that that will actually benefit them by like pulling more developers into their platform. So in a crazy enough way,
network effect, right? Because there's already enough developers, they can be offering more incentives.
Yeah, exactly.
This is okay. I never thought about that side, but that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's really nice on the go-to-market side for us because what we care about is just making it easier to use crypto at large. And it would be difficult if like some of the teams that we were working with like didn't like
exactly
that idea.
I was thinking. Right?
Yeah. But everybody's aligned, like, which is a really nice like incentive thing that just like fortunately is playing out for not just us, but like chain abstraction at large.
This is nice. Thanks for
Yeah.
diving a little bit deep and just addressing my curiosity.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think is your biggest lesson that you learned in 2024? Ask that question specifically because I feel like founders, they have the highest growth curve in the market. Every single year, you must have like a big lesson that you're looking back yourself last year, right? You think that version of yourself is stupid for not realizing what you have learned this year. But stage is yours.
Yeah. I like this question. There's a lot of, I make mistakes constantly. I'm still like even though I like built and sold a company before, I'm still very bad as a founder compared to like where I want to go with things. So I'm making mistakes pretty constantly out here.
The
But
best
like,
founder always make mistakes. Lifetime founder,
yeah,
lifetime mistakes.
yeah. The biggest kind of learning lesson that I took away from 2024, honestly, I think one thing that played really well in our favor, and I think a lot of founders should think about today, is you can never time the market, but you can have some rough idea of kind of like where things are probably going to be in 6 months. So for context on that, we made like a pretty big bet at the end of 2023 to like put the gas down and really like scale out the engineering team and start getting things over the line. Before this, the reason we did that is like all the things that could have exploded have exploded. I don't know if the market's going to start like ripping in 2024, but there's no more like Terra, Luna, Three Arrows, FTX. Like literally, they've all exploded at this point. So there's no more kind of like landmines that we're going to walk into. And so at this point, we have like strong enough conviction that the future of Ethereum is going to be very fragmented. And like this is going to be the number one problem for the Ethereum ecosystem. And so having like clarity around that problem and also like strong confidence that there weren't any more like landmines that were just going to like shove us into a bear market for another like 9 months. We decided to really start scaling up the team. Before that, we were only like 5 people we raised like $18 million, but we were only like 5 people for like 2 years after that. Yeah. Yeah. So we really like were conservative with our capital. And we still are today. We definitely like are not, I see some teams like, I don't know, spend a lot of money. We don't do that. We're like extremely cost conscious. Yeah. So honestly, it's just kind of like, look at where things will go, and you can't predict the future a year from now, but you can kind of directionally tell like 6 months from now probably where things are going to be, and position your team and your strategy to like hunt that. Don't just react to what's happening right now. So like founders right now should not whiplash and be like, Bitcoin to 100K, the game has like changed. They should be thinking about where things are going to be in like June of next year right now.
And also just to make bets, that's really important. The reason why people are just reacting to what's happening right now is because they didn't make a bet a couple months ago, right? If you make a bet, you probably win, you probably lose. But it doesn't matter. Like if you don't make bet, you will never win. You will never catch up the trend.
Right? Totally. One thing that I've heard some founders say this before. I heard this a lot in the last bull market or the last bear market. They were like, yeah, we have this cool product, but like we don't want to use up all of our bullets in the bear. And I was like, what? So you're going to sit on your hands for 2 years here? Like what do you mean you don't want to use up your bullets? Like, do you have a finite amount, or is your team not building anything anymore? So yeah, I think taking like big ambitious bets and being willing to just like let that shit blow up in your face, and just acknowledge that that's how startups work. A lot of crypto companies, for some reason, they're like, we're going to build the X of modular ABS chain abstraction, and they just like go and do that thing for 4 years and launch token. They never like listen to customers and iterate. So yeah, like take big leverage bets in this space for sure, and be willing to like let them fail, because some of them will fail. Yeah.
Agreed. Make bets, be more embrace for whatever mistakes you get. Act fast, right? Never try to catch up the trend, trying to predict the trend, the trend, right? What's going on in the future. Thanks for that. The next topic that I wanted to dive in deep, very deep, is your crypto Twitter strategy. right?
Mm.
This is fun. The first question is like, who started this, right? Like, who started the Omni Twitter cult, right? Who started to tweet the most? Who started to going around the company and said, "Oh, you guys have to tweet more," right? This is the way we. Is it Graham? Is it you?
Nobody does that. Nobody does that. But it is interesting. We kind of I run into a lot of people, and when they ask where I work, and I say Omni, like, oh, I know of Omni. I don't know what you do, but I know of Omni, and like,
This feels kind
and
of nice, right? Like really nice.
it's super, yeah, it's super fair because one thing I think we've done really well is personal Twitters. One thing I think we've done really poorly is the like uh, core messaging of the project. And so it puts us in a position where people are like, I know of you.
Why?
Mhm.
Why? I feel like you guys dominated the concept of like chain abstraction and interoperability. Why do you
I
think
don't
it's
think,
like poor? Like, look, how do you think it can be better? Like, just curious.
I think it can be miles better and it will be better. I will stake that. Yeah. So yeah, no, I think honestly, like most of our association with chain abstraction right now, I mean, recently we rolled out something with Symbiotic, which like gave people like a more concrete idea, like, oh, okay, Symbiotic doesn't have to like go put contracts on rollups, and users don't have to move to L1. They can just like put ETH in the box on Optimism, Arbitrum, etc., and it just goes into the protocol. Like, okay, I think that kind of gave some people like concrete ideas, like this is how it's going to like play out. But there's still a lot of work to be done on that front. But kind of like getting back to your original question, honestly, this is like a fortunate thing. We definitely saw like, posts about persona led marketing and like founder led marketing and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been on Twitter for like, I don't know, 6 years or something at this point. I didn't really do it at my first company. I didn't really do it for the first few years of this company. I was always just kind of lurking. But we just kind of started shit posting, honestly. Like Graham was really good in like communicating a cultural standard. Like anything that's on your mind, throw it out there. Like even if it's the most like left curve, dumb
deeply
stuff.
impacted me,
Yeah,
along with
good.
a lot of the BD folks in the space.
Yeah. It's funny because him, Matt, and I, and then like Tyler, my co-founder, and Chase are also posting some, but like the three of us that have grown our accounts the most, it's me, Matt, and Graham. We all kind of have different styles for growing them, and we post different types of content, which is really nice because let's imagine that there's like some announcement we want to make from Omni. The people who follow me are maybe like more product technical. The people who follow Matt are more kind of like BD strategy. The people who follow Graham are more kind of like BD, shit posty, like funny.
Degen.
And yeah, very degen. So we can like amplify it across all those different like audiences, which is something that's really nice that we built up from our like personal accounts. But I'd love to say this was like a very thought out, methodical thing. But really, it's just like we read some like posts, we're like, yeah, this is a good idea, and then we just all kind of started doing it, and we're still getting in the rhythm of like properly leveraging our personal accounts to like distribute information from the company. But yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's one thing that's like working well for us at this time. But nobody came in and was like, tweet more, tweet more. We all just kind of, I don't know, started doing it.
I feel like you guys are giving out a lot of pressure, like for other products, like the entire landscape. Like people are going around their companies. I've heard you need to tweet more. Like the founders of Omni Network, like look at what their BDs are doing. You need to tweet more. So this is
just that idea. Like Graham, Matt, and I would be laughing our asses off at that because like we're all just like, honestly, behind the scenes, a lot of it is we're like A/B testing types of content that would like if you really squint and look at my tweets, you can see that I'm like trying out this format or like this type of content and stuff. But I love the idea of like Graham posting lists of companies and getting hundreds of likes, and then other founders being like, tweet more, BD. Like
100%. I love that. I can see you guys are trying so hard. And it's good, right? It's really rewarding. Give me 3 very concrete, very solid tips for someone who just wanted to bootstrap their engagement exposures on Twitter. 3 tips that you acquired along the way.
Yeah, a lot of this will just be structural that can apply to anybody. My type of content is more like founder, technical, go to market. That's really the like content niche that like those posts always like do the best. But for anybody who is interested, one, post tweets. Just literally take a Sunday, go to a cafe. And I think people think we're on Twitter all the time or something. Like we're not, though. We schedule a lot of our tweets. I personally like on Sundays, I'll go to a cafe and just like, I don't know, just yap into my computer and then like schedule tweets throughout the week. So if somebody's trying to bootstrap their account, go do like deep work time, write up a bunch of tweets and kind of like have an idea of like different types of content. They shouldn't all be the same thing, and be comfortable with the fact that they're almost all going to flop. They're all probably going to get like 2 likes if your account is brand new, you know? And then at the end of the week, review the types of content that got 4 likes instead of 2. And the following week, post more of those to see if that was like a fluke or if people actually resonated with that more. That's like what I did, honestly. Just like be totally fine with the fact that you're going to look stupid in a lot of these tweets. And some of them are going to be cringe. If you look at my tweets, like a lot of them are cringe.
Like, but it's cool. It's cool. You need those. You know, you need those.
Yeah, it's tough because I know the tweets of mine that rip the hardest are the cringe founder ones. And so I'm like, oh, I got to do another cringe founder post. But yeah, like I know that like grows my distribution the most. So that's kind of like the first thing, just like, yeah, actually like whip things out there. The second thing, I guess the second thing was kind of within what I said, just like be analytical, like actually reflect, look over the past week of tweets that you did and identify what hit the hardest. Third thing, reply guy, reply to tweets. I like, don't feel like you have to, have something really smart to say to reply to tweets. If there's like an account that you want to be associated with, or like this helps a lot with BD actually. I reply to people all the time with just the most left curve, like, this good, or like, I like your hat, or just get comfortable.
I do that all the 100%.
Yeah.
That's the way.
Yeah. It is totally the way. It just post dumb stuff, and you'll get velocity and you'll learn what like actually hits and resonates with people.
Yes. And also one more thing on top of that is just like, if you saw someone's tweet and you really like it, just DM them. Tell them you love them.
100%.
Tell them you love them, right? Like stuff like that.
This is one thing that I feel like a lot of people are like, what do you mean you just DM people? Honestly, I shoot out like 10 plus DMs a day. It is extremely helpful with like building out a network across this industry. And as long as you're like kind and respectful, it's totally fine. Like people ignore me half the time. Like that, that is just simply like, don't feel like, oh God, they didn't respond. Like people ignore me a lot of the time still, but I have met like hundreds of people. I have a lot of internet friends at this point, just from like whipping out DMs. And it makes it super easy to like, all right, cool. We want to cook with Arbitrum on this. I actually know somebody specifically who is like working on like this sector of DeFi within the team. We were just like bantering on Twitter. That is like how we move like very quickly here, because we just yap.
That's the most beautiful thing that can ever happen if you build an audience engagement on Twitter, right? Be able to reach anyone you wanted to reach whenever there's an opportunity.
It's a serious like multiplier effect. You can just get in contact with anybody pretty easily.
Awesome. Thanks for the 3 concrete tips. I'm gonna make a separate clip for that, so that I can learn from you. Okay. Next question is like starting season 2, right? I ask all my guests to share one controversial hot takes. Like it need to be hot. It need to be spicy. Like the hotter, the better. So give me it can be like things that are going around the chain abstraction space. It can be about the entire Web3 landscape. Like but give me a hot take. Okay.
The idea here is spicy. I will verbalize it in an intentionally spicy way. There's no inherent value in a chain. I think that most of, so we're all on the same page that crypto networks are not valued, or crypto tokens at large are not valued on fundamentals. That's not like a controversial take. The more controversial take is the way that we are valuing them today will not map at all to their ability to capture revenue and actually like create value and extract value. So what we see is in 2016, Union Square Ventures posted the Fat Protocol thesis, which said like in regular internet, apps are big and protocols are tiny because like that's the value capture. And then in crypto, it's going to be different. The apps are going to be tiny and the protocols are going to be big. And so this led to fucking 8 years of people launching chains like, oh, I want to be an L1. I want to be an L1. But if you look at what's happening, ETH is not like this. It's not just ETH. ETH has been like majorly flooded on the timeline recently.
Yes.
It's the canary in the coal mine, though. Like this is going to happen to all chains. Just because the L2s are taking revenue away from L1, that's not like specific to Ethereum because it's going to happen with applications across all these other chains as well. If I'm an application, why would I hand all this revenue to Solana? I'm going to start capturing it within my own sequencer or just within my front end. This is going to happen to every single chain. And I don't think the industry, I mean, I know the industry is not fully incorporating this into their valuation methodologies, but I think we're going to see a complete like reversal where the past 3 years, everybody was like, ooh, infra good, infra good. Infra is not going to capture this value. It's going to be the people closest to the customer. So like applications are people actually handling that order flow. And I think this is going to make a lot of people, it's going to make some people a lot of money, and it's going to make a lot of people lose a lot of money.
Interesting. That's really, and especially with like all these RAS, all these like one-click launching a chain like strategy, right? Like these apps, there's no reason for these apps to not launch in their own chain capture, even launching their own L1, right?
Yeah, I think the only argument you can make is like the friction of deploying those platforms. The thing is, you don't even need to.
That's why they need Omni, right? In the future, yeah. That makes sense.
Well, I think it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I think TLDR, I think we're going to get more rational as an industry, and we're going to start looking at the fundamentals like, okay, is this network making money? And like, it took 15 years, but like, I think pretty soon we're going to like step towards the point of like, how much revenue is this network actually pulling in, as opposed to just like, how hard does the community go, or like, how much engagement do they get on Twitter?
Interesting. Thanks a lot for sharing that. Speaking of apps, give me one app in this year that you think is the most interesting ones, and then
definitely Poly Market.
Preferably not the ones that people already know about. E.g.
Right,
Poly Market.
Yeah. Honestly, it's really tough. One kind of, I think we are queued up for the Golden Bull run here. I think almost everything is set in place for this next bull run to just be really, really ridiculous and stupid. The biggest risk that I see is that we don't build more apps that really hit wider mainstream usage like Polymarket. It's nice that we have Polymarket that kind of proved like, hey, this is a crypto thing, and this thing literally like predicted the US president before all these other media sources. We have one of these, but previous cycles, it's always been a few of these like killer applications. It doesn't need to be 100. Really, it can just be like a handful. Like if we get 2 more,
1 or 2, yes.
Yeah, like that's probably enough. Like if you think about the DeFi era, there were hundreds of apps, but in reality, they were all forks of like Compound, Aave, Uniswap, and then like yield aggregators. Like, yes. So honestly, I wish I had one that was like, that I thought people really, actually, no, there is another one, Off the Grid. Off the Grid, yeah. Have you heard of this thing?
No, never. Tell me more.
Yeah, no, it's pretty sick. It's like some cyberpunk Fortnite thing, and you can like play it on like PS5 and stuff for like so many years. Yeah.
Is it on Avalanche or something like that?
Yeah. It's an Avalanche powered one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why all the sick games are on Avalanche?
I don't know, but they've been cooking. Respect, like credit where it's due. Yeah, no, I actually played this thing just to try it out. I don't like game much, but I don't know. It's like Robo Fortnite, and it's cool. Built by like a professional studio. You can tell, which is really, really nice to see because the space has just thrown like hundreds of millions of dollars at gaming over the past like 5+ years, and there hasn't been a single one that I've been like, that's a cool game. But this, objectively, I played a few rounds of it. Like, it's a cool game, and you can like unlock things, and then there's a marketplace that is actually crypto powered behind the scenes. So That is another
cool.
promising candidate here. Yeah, major credit to that team. A lot of respect for them.
It's a game in PlayStation 5, which is
And like Xbox and PC and stuff. It's just like a normal game that happens
Dude, I
to
have
use
to check it
crypto.
out.
Yeah,
I
highly
feel like
recommend.
that's really interesting. You know, like the coolest game or even a lot of the cool applications now DeFi, they don't like just focusing themselves as like a blockchain based game or whatever. Just elegantly combine some crypto element. For example, an NFT marketplace into it. And some of Web2 users, they don't even know, like they just know, okay, this is a tool, this is equipment I can sell, right? And I can probably get some USDC, I don't know.
We're past the point of people giving a shit about it being an NFT. That was like a nice little fluke we got a few years ago. But like, if anything, that's a negative now. Like, people don't want to like think about that stuff.
Beautiful. Thanks for the app. 2 apps. And the next question will be an interesting story of you, right? This is the most interesting question I like to ask all my guests. Like, give me a story on your way building Omni, right? Like, just one most interesting story that you haven't been able to tell the world. Like, it's fun. It can be full of risk taking. It can be full of twist. It can be silly, but it is something that Austin has done in the past building Omni. And those are the kind of things that made you who you are today as a founder. So yeah,
happy. Yeah. So this is not from Omni. This is actually when I was like trying to start my first company after school.
Nice.
Or I mean, really, it was during my senior year. So I learned a lot from working with this person. They are a crazy, crazy human. But okay, without doxing this person, for context, I went to Harvard, and one night I was just on the street, like waiting for some friends to come out of something, and this dude just shows up, and he's wearing like Bitcoin socks or something, and he starts like chatting with me, and long story short, we started talking about crypto. This man's crazy. He didn't go to college. He just flew to Harvard campus because he was like, Bitcoin prices are 40% higher in Korea. I need to go find some nerds to build me a machine that can trade Bitcoin in America to the Bitcoin in Korea. And so, yeah,
that
like
is a
this
back then. It's the best way to make profit. I actually remember the days.
Yeah. So this guy just shows up to Harvard's campus. Literally, his logic is like, where can I find nerds? He just flies to Harvard and like, and so he finds me, and I don't know, I'm like crypto pilled at this point. And I was planning to like build a crypto company, and he's an incredible salesman. And he like hypes me up. He's like, oh, we could blah, blah, blah. I don't know. And I'm like, this guy's kind of crazy. I randomly ran into him in the street in San Francisco, like 2 weeks later, completely serendipitously. And I was just like, all right, I don't believe in like destiny, but like, I gotta see what's going on here. And so then he's like, all right, let's go to Korea. I'm like still in school at this point.
What?
And I just have to like tell my professors like, hey, I decided to do a startup and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I didn't interview for any jobs. So I got to go to Korea for a few weeks. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? You have to show up to seminar and like you have homework. I'm like, please don't fail me. I need to make this work though. And so I just flew to Korea for a few weeks, and we just like hustled our way into these like random private dinners for like, I forget what it was, but there was like, we learned that there was a private dinner for early ICO investors of some coin. And we just showed up there and we were like, hi, we're Octagon Trading. They were like, what are you talking about? There's no Octagon Trading on this list. And we're clearly like Americans. And we're like, we flew all the way to Korea for this. Like, we're definitely on the list. And they're like, no, you're not. But they were like, okay, it's crazy that there would just be Americans here that are not on the list. So they just let us in. They're like, there must have been a mistake. So we go in. We ended up meeting some people from like the top Korean exchanges at this point.
Oh, nice.
TLDR, we weren't able to like open up accounts because of like capital control laws. But this experience, and then there was another one where I like flew to California. We like drove into the desert. I had to sleep in the trunk of a car because we like yeah, this was a chaotic period of my life. But honestly, this is what it takes to start a company. You got to be willing to do stupid shit and just like shoot your shot. Like, all right, I don't know, Bitcoin's 40% higher in Korea. Let's go to Korea. I'm like, so yeah, there were a lot of like ridiculous stories from my senior year, but the biggest kind of like takeaway, honestly, was it's always going to be chaos, and you just kind of got to shoot your shot, and you're going to fail a lot, but if you like keep at it for like many years, you will see your success compound.
Embrace chaos.
Yeah.
And see life where life guides you, right? Like
yeah.
Just follow it. It's really fun. Thanks for so much for sharing that story.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is lit. This is what it takes to become a founder, you know?
Yeah. It does. Like nothing will make sense for long periods of time. But you just got to be down to like hop into the madness.
Thank you so much. And here we reach to the last question of the podcast, where I'm gonna hand the stage to you to shill Omni hard. Give me everything about what exciting on the roadmap. If I'm just a user, I'm really excited about chain abstraction. How can I participate? How can I contribute? Right? How can I become a champion? But please.
Yeah, so right now where we're at development-wise, we have mainnet running internally. We're going to be releasing it soon here. What I am most excited about is we're taking a product path that I haven't seen taken before in this industry. So for like many years, people were like, cross-chain apps, like this is how we're going to like make apps available everywhere. And just like, where are they? Like, where are the cross-chain? Like there aren't really cross-chain apps. And it's because it doesn't really make sense. It takes like way too long to build that. I think we're like now just leaning in as an industry into chain abstraction, this idea of like, hey, what if we made users not think about all this in the weeds garbage and just like have the networks like take care of that and solvers. I think 2025, the most highly levered plays, okay, here's a good way to put it. There's a lot of like VC-backed infra out there, and there's obviously like major sentiment around like, oh, like meme coin's good, like VC dump wars bad, right? I think the companies focusing on chain abstraction are one of the highest probability categories to like really substantially make an impact in this industry over 2025. And that is basically exclusively what we are going to be focused on at Omni. There's just a very clear path. Like we all know it sucks to use crypto today. It's super high friction. It's a little more abstract to be like, well, this virtual machine is like not parallelized. So like that's why the industry hasn't grown.
Enough.
Yeah,
it's
like
not executing enough.
Like these are problems, but like if we're actually looking at, we've tapped out the amount of humans across the world who are down to think about seed phrases and RPC endpoints and gas and different gas on different platforms. The companies that are really going to win over 2025, in my opinion, are going to be the companies focused on abstracting away all that so that they can actually onboard the next wave of users, because simply their technical requirements are going to be like, it must be simpler. And so the only people that will be able to onboard that 10x new users are people who make that experience simpler. That's my show for Omni.
And then that is your bet that you're making, right? And I hope you guys win.
For sure,
I hope you guys are the biggest winner in
2025. Thank you, Ricky. I appreciate that.
Appreciate it too. But yeah, that puts us to an end for the Tales of Web3 Season 2, Episode 8 with Austin King, the CEO of Omni Network.
I appreciate it, Ricky. Yeah.